Canadian National 3254 is a Class S1B 282 Mikado built 1917 by the Canadian Locomotive Company for the Canadian Government Railways, where it was numbered 2854. In 1918, the Canadian Government Railway combined with the Canadian Northern Railway, forming the Canadian National Railway. This is a favorite of quite a few people, and is one of my favorite locomotives. A lot of people want to see 3254 run again, but the frame is just in such a bad condition that the locomotive is unsafe to operate with a frame like that. The reason that it's bent is because on July 4th, 1941, 3254 collided head-on with Great Northern Class H5 462 number 1351 North Road Cut. This accident is what caused the locomotive's frame horns to be bent, and the frame is bent to one side, causing the cab to sit off-center. Not about to be discouraged by 3254's bent frame, the Canadian National loosely repaired 3254, and it continued service until it was retired in 1958. As for Great Northern 1351, she wasn't even as near as lucky. She was so damaged beyond repair that she was removed from the crash site and placed on a flatbed on her side, and whatever remained intact was cut up with the rest of the scrap metal. The only remnants of 1351 are the pictures of her. In 1995, 3254 was masqueraded as Lackawanna number 1271. In 1982, 3254 was sold to the Gettysburg Railroad, which operated track between Gettysburg and Mount Holly Springs, Pennsylvania. Once overhauled and reassembled, however, 3254 was just too large and heavy to meet the Gettysburg standards. In the summer of 1987, the steam locomotive 3254 arrived at Steamtown National Historic Site after they traded CPR 462 number 1278 and some extra cash for the 3254. When 3254 was brought to Steamtown, she was not tuned correctly, and therefore several things were different, such as the whistle and bell. And they sounded a little bit like this. But however, thankfully, Steamtown repaired that, and 3254 was finally tuned correctly, and her whistle changed for the better. And it now makes that famous sound we all know and love. In 1995, 3254 was painted up to look like Lackawanna 1271. When the 3254 was brought to Steamtown, she was reunited with one of her cousin locomotives, Canadian National Class S1D Mikado number 3377. But unfortunately, the 3377 was a target for copper thieves during her trip to Steamtown. The locomotive was never repaired, and therefore became a source parts for 3254, including the tender, which replaced the 3254's tender due to rust leaks. And 3254's old tender was scrapped shortly after, so I think it's fair to say 3377 is a tenderless engine, unless they can find something else in their collection. As a result of issues with either the boiler, firebox, or the frame, combined with the other needed maintenance which made further operation impractical for the 3254, she was taken out of service indefinitely after 2012's running season. This early retirement is likely attributed to its 1941 head-on with 1351. A lot of people referred to 3254 as a Rough Rider, and she chewed up roller bearings at an accelerating rate. And without those, her axles are not going to roll correctly. As a result of this, the 3254 is being replaced by Boston and Maine number 3713 in Steamtown's operating fleet. So it's unlikely that 3254 is ever going to run again anytime soon. So she sits quietly in the roundhouse, hoping that one day she will be restored and pulling trains again. To the people who were fortunate enough to see 3254 operate, including myself, we treasure 3254 as a crown jewel of excursion engines. And with luck, someday she will steam again. But the story doesn't end there. There's talk that Steamtown, after they finish restoring Boston and Maine 3713, that they are planning to restore 3377 to her former glory. Because Steamtown said themselves that 3254 is pretty worn out. And they do believe that 3377 is in better shape than 3254. Only time will tell if this is true.